So, first thing, we have a soapbox for you. Today, on a soapbox that I'm getting up on, is about Dark Souls. I think most people are probably aware at this point how I feel about Dark Souls. And
Plus, you're new to the show since this is our 7th episode in 20 years.
Right. So, for everybody that has not seen one of our 7 episodes in the last 350 years, you may be unaware that my attempts at playing the From Software catalog of games have not gone very well. And from Demon Souls to Dark Souls, I have not been able to tolerate them, and it is usually controller throwing frustration for me.
Have you actually thrown your controller?
I definitely slammed it down on my couch, so it didn't break it. But it was,
there you go.
But you have seen me kind of go like this occasionally with that. I knew that I was in trouble when I originally played Demon Souls, and they had that Phases of the Moon thing where it would make enemies harder every time you went back in to after you died and you came back. I did not make it very far through there. The hitboxes are huge.
Here's a question about the Phases of the Moon thing. Was it only so many and then it would reset back to the beginning?
Probably. I didn't get there fast enough. I don't think so. That would have been amazing because you could have gamed that system where you keep dying until it goes. Yeah,
and then you're like, well, fuck. So let's die again, make it easier, and then go through there, and then oh crap, die again. Of course, then you just have no progression for your souls.
No, you don't, and that was the other problem too, is that there was no real easily understood way that I could just upgrade my character in the middle of this. I'm sure you can. I know that there are ways, but they weren't presented very early on. So when I got to Dark Souls Remastered and I could finally play that, I did that, and it didn't have some of those annoying things like the phases.
No, it did not.
No, but it had other annoying things like the enemies that just jump out at you randomly, and and still had the tank controls, and still had the dying constantly, and the annoying messages like say, "Hey, try jumping, off this cliff." Yeah. Thanks, random dude. You helped out a lot.
Trolls.
Love
trolls.
Trolls leaving messages that just make you jump off cliffs. Because I thought maybe there was an invisible bridge there. There is not. There's never an invisible bridge. Don't assume that From Software is ever giving you anything they're taking all the time. So I had kind of written off the idea of Dark Souls in the Souls-like genre until other people started taking that formula and doing something different with it. And so I think I've come to the conclusion that I don't necessarily like the Dark Souls. I don't. But that doesn't mean that I don't like Souls-like games.
Yeah, you just don't like From Software.
I think maybe I just don't like... I'm the one person who wants to destroy Elden Ring with fire. I'm that person. No, kill it with fire. I'm sure it'll be fine. Maybe I'll try it. I don't know. But
and then you'll throw your controller.
Then I'll throw my controller, and no one will be happy. But some of the Souls-like games that I've played, I thought took the basic idea of that whole intermingled world where you would, unlock shortcuts to get from different areas. The idea that dying leaves your currency essentially on the ground. You have to go back to, reclaim it.
You gotta remember, corpse running has been a thing since, Diablo.
That's true. But see, the thing is, in corpse running, I guess the thing about it is, though, that you still kept some of your money with Diablo.
Yeah, but you didn't keep your gear.
No, you didn't keep
with
your
Diablo.
Gear. No.
You ran back naked.
Yeah, you did run back naked, so that was fun. However,
So
I think the difference that really happened with the Souls-like genre is that the stuff that you leave on the ground is the only way you upgrade your character. So, like in Diablo, you level up. In Souls-like games, you really don't like that.
I mean, you still level up. You still get experience. You gain levels. You gain stats.
Right. But you have to invest your souls in order to do it.
You should be doing that.
Right. No, you should. But like in Diablo, you would just gain experience, and then you would ding, and you would gain the stuff. In a Souls-like games, any of the upgrades that you do are because of that Souls currency, tech currency, whatever you're using, that you then have to take to either your, bonfire or your chamber or whatever. You have to use it there. It respawns all the enemies when you do that.
It does.
Yeah. All the enemies respawn, the world resets, but you can utilize it right there and then to do some upgrades to your individual stats, levels, etc. So those mechanics are a little bit different. And then, of course, that you have to think about combat more tactfully. It's not just... chances are you're not going to be able to just hack and slash your way through it. Diablo you could, which is why I like Diablo.
Diablo's a point and click.
Diablo...
yeah. Not Dark Souls.
Yeah.
Not a hack and slash.
No. Diablo's a hack and slasher, and that's why we love it. But Dark Souls is definitely not, and I found that like a lot of times with blocking and with dodging and stuff, it didn't necessarily even work. And there were a lot of bosses where they were like, here's a boss, hey, here's 3 other bosses that are just going to come and help out the main boss when you get to town. Making it very, very difficult. However, when they started to do stuff outside of Dark Souls, I started to realize that the idea was good, but I needed it to be something different. I needed it to either be more accessible, be faster, get out of kind of the tank controls that they had, change the style, change the layout, and so they had several of them that did a pretty good job in that vein. I thought I'd mention a few of them.
Yeah, the thing with Dark Souls is I really want to love Dark Souls.
Oh yeah,
they've done so much world crafting in it, and so much lore that is derived from like just the items you get.
Sure.
That you have to piece together yourself, and that to me is really fascinating.
Yeah.
But we're in agreement here that the formula they use for the gameplay is not really something I'm into.
Right.
But like I believe game theorists have done a couple videos on the lore of Dark Souls, for instance.
Oh yeah.
And there's a bunch of people who've done deep dives into the lore of Dark Souls.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really good.
Oh yeah.
And the storytelling, even though you have to piece it together yourself, it's fascinating. The story is really cool.
Oh yeah.
But like I want to love it for that reason.
Yeah. And a part of me still wants to try Bloodborne, because I know that was also like one of the highlights of that particular genre. And that was, again, part of that whole storytelling aspect and the way they present it and the ways you can interpret that. No, I like the concept. The problem is that the gameplay and the way they do the gameplay loops becomes almost inhibiting for people to play.
I know GMTK, Game Maker's Toolkit, has also done something about should like Dark Souls games have difficulties. Like, is that
Several
a thing you
people
should
have.
do? Several people have done it, and that's not a discussion
We
necessarily need to get into right now, because far more intelligent people than us who do video essays have done great video essays on this, and we're not really in the habit of video essays. We are conversational, which is fine. I don't know how to write a script for the life of me.
Nope. and a lot of people that are even in our Discord have occasionally talked about the fact that there are actually some ways that you could do that if you have. Depending on what build you use, it's usually a little bit easier if you know some of the tactics to do certain bosses.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it in multiplayer, if you have co-op. Obviously, I get that. I understand that. It's just, I don't know. The way that it's presented and how you're supposed to interact with the world, and kind of like having no real roadmap to go through it, starts to feel a little bit too dense and a little too complex for the average person. I did enjoy killing my boar at that one point and getting the boar helmet that I could have, but then you go into this cathedral and there's like 3 knights there, and one of them like sneaks up from the back and smacks you in the back and you're dead. But I mean, and so there's all of these things where it's like, oh yeah, this is real nice. But like in Dark Souls, for instance, there's the main hub that you eventually get to, and there's 2 different directions you could take. And you think to yourself, oh, maybe I'll go down this route, only to realize that, oh no, they don't actually ever they never wanted you to go down to the graveyard path. The graveyard path kills you instantaneously. It's like, okay, well, thanks for not mentioning anything about that. So
it's a learning experience.
It is a learning experience. The learning curve is pretty high.
Pretty curved.
Pretty curved. I also was not. I felt like the combat controls reminded me a little bit of the worst parts of like Witcher 3. Just the tanky kind of controls. I wanted something that felt more fluid too when I was actually in combat.
Agreed.
Yeah. So then you get to more Souls-like games, and some of them actually fix these problems, which I'm happy about.
Yes.
One of the more recent ones that I played was Code Vein. You might remember that one, but it was kind of, people would refer to as anime Dark Souls. And yeah, a little bit. A little bit, anime Dark Souls, but some really nice stuff that they were able to put in there. One, much faster, more fluid combat. I appreciated that. The level design, nice and open for the most parts. Just a lot of little pathways to go down. Enemies are a little bit easier to kind of understand, attack patterns and things like that. They're a little slower on the draw. You can choose a lot of weapons right up at the front. You can respec your character to different classes at any time, which is really nice. Fast travel. You can fast travel from the different missiles, even to an attack, a central hub where you have stores and characters that you can interact with.
Right.
Very handy. Stuff that I do appreciate. And
See,
I like.
I don't even. Here's the thing with that one. Fast travel is okay with me. I don't mind if there's fast travel. I don't mind if there's not fast travel. But what I do appreciate is when there is either a mini map or a map that I can look at and readily available know where the hell I am.
Yes.
And one thing with these Souls games and Souls-like games is that there is oftentimes not a map.
Yeah. And one of the other problems that I usually have is I don't mind if you don't have a fast travel system if it is relatively easy to get around that map. If, I don't necessarily even need to have the map itself, but if I can't easily traverse those levels and I have to do a ton of backtracking all the time to get from one point to another, you're going to have to give me some kind of a fast travel or a transit system or something to get there, because then all I'm doing is just backtracking through your game constantly. And I did see that problem a lot with Dark Souls. They will occasionally give you ladders that you can throw down and stuff to traverse.
I remember there's one point there's a bonfire and then you can get a ladder down to it again from higher up, and I'm like, oh, that's handy.
It is.
Now that I know that's there, I can either go up this way to get there, or I can go back around if I want to maybe grind some more XP.
Right, and they do add those in so that it's a little less, backtracky, and it makes you feel like you have a little bit better progress. But they're not really, as you get further and further into the game and start to realize that there are areas you have to backtrack to, that's where things get a little bit egregious in terms of what I'm doing back and forth. So I appreciated that.
Right. Now, I know there was one game you did want to mention that took the Souls-like formula. I believe that you enjoyed more.
Oh.
In the Surge 2?
Yes. Yeah, in Surge 2. I heard you had recently played a little bit of it.
I picked it up. It was either free or on sale. Don't remember which. Probably right. It was probably on sale because I think it's on Steam. And you had mentioned it, so I wanted to try it. and I think I put like 8 hours into it, and I liked some of the combat systems. I liked how the game functioned overall.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I hated was the fact there was no map.
Yeah, there's an aversion to maps in the Dark Souls-like
And it's not so much
genre.
that I needed a map because I just wanted a map. It was more so I didn't know where I was going a lot of the time. And traversal is, for me, with a short-term memory, where I'm not going to remember something, like I don't know where I'm going, don't know where I am.
Yeah,
Give me a map to look at that
sure.
is useful, even if it's not a mini map.
Yeah,
A map that's overall here's like where you've been, where your location. Even if I'm mapping it myself, that is super handy because I don't know where the hell I'm going.
exactly. Yeah, I worry about these things. But yeah, the map was very limited. Trying to traverse everything, and especially when you get onto the streets of Surge 2.
Yeah.
And you start to realize that there are some pretty hard blockades where you have to level up pretty far in order to get to the new locations, because they are not playing around. But
Yeah.
but like, I played the Surge 1 a little bit. I can tell you the Surge 2 did a much better job and improved upon a lot of systems. I like the idea of being able to target certain parts, and if you cut them off, you actually get new parts, new
Yeah.
armor and stuff. I was
That
like,
was cool. I liked being able to upgrade the armor and to craft stuff like that. I didn't like at the beginning when it was like, yeah, target this person's head. I'm like, how? Give me a better description in this
yeah,
tutorial because I didn't know how to for like probably a good 15 times of trying to kill that guy.
yeah, and they don't really put it in at the very beginning when you have like the drones, because like the drones don't really have parts that you there's like little flying drones that come at you at the very beginning of the game when you have no like rig or anything.
Yeah.
But I also like some of the Metroidvania kind of elements where there were certain devices that you would get from bosses as you go through that would unlock different areas, even in
Right.
starting areas. That was cool. I really appreciated that because it made you want to go back to previous areas. I liked having the little drone that you could, change out with some different ones. I did not like when I got to the garden. That's kind of where I stopped playing, because there are these giant mechs that just kind of rise out of statues, and their hitbox is the entire field. So trying to dodge out of the way and hit them was absolutely, I could not kill them, and it was almost impossible to avoid them. But I liked some of the systems that they did. I liked the bonuses to different armor sets that you could get, and a lot of the personality that it had for the customization you could do.
Yeah, I agree. I did
Yeah.
I did like that a bit more than the combat, especially in like Dark Souls,
Yeah,
personally.
yeah. It was a little bit more fluid, and even though it was not particularly fast, I think the fact that they did kind of slow it down for the most part also got me used to the complexity of that combat.
Right.
The Code Vein style is much faster, but it's a lot less precise. You don't have to figure out exactly like when enemies are blocking and stuff like that. It's not that complicated. You're just trying to get in hits before they hit you, and all of that.
That's more of like a DMC type combat, I want to say then.
It is. It actually did remind me of DMC, also because as you keep attacking, if you don't save and you just keep attacking, you get like multipliers for the essence that you get as you keep going forward. So
Yeah.
it did have a little bit more of that DMC flavor.
Did you here's another Souls like genre, or at least similar-esque.
Sure.
Takes a bunch of points from the Souls genre and uses those. But Souls Light maybe? Did you play Nioh or Nioh 2?
I did not. You played a little bit of Nioh, if I remember.
Did, and I like it also because it's mission-based.
That is nice.
So instead of just having the one big open world, it's like you go into a mission, which
cool.
has got this smaller scale but still open world map.
Okay.
That's you do this one mission,
Hmm.
and at the end you get back to like wherever you are, the town, the inn. I think you've got the map where you can do different things and go on different missions or take different challenges. And I like that system as well because it makes it so you can dedicate, say, all right, well, I want to play a mission.
Sure.
And you can play a mission, and you can do your upgrades or whatever you want to do. And then either you can save during that, or you can be like, all right, well, I'm done doing this mission. Maybe I'll pause playing for a different time.
Sure.
So even though it wasn't as grand open world in each specific mission as, say, a Dark Souls or a Surge 2, it was still open world in that map where you can go anywhere you want in it and find different ways to traverse them in different areas in them, but it wasn't just a giant thing.
Right.
So I like that. The mission-based type combat and the mission-based for maps, I think, is really fun because it lets you do those as smaller segments. That was also very fun. I think it was, again, more fluid than, say, Dark Souls, where it was a faster pace, but it wasn't so fast that you couldn't pay attention. You still had to pay attention. And it also gave you the different weapon types you could use. You could have different stances from high to mid to low based on if you want to be based more on offense, defense, or agility.
Oh, okay. That's
so you could mix. Yeah, so you could mix those up. So you'd be like, all right, I want to go all attack, do a high stance, and each attack stance would have different attack patterns for the weapons.
Oh.
So that was interesting.
Okay, that kind of reminds me a little bit of like when Yakuza had different fighting styles that you could go into.
Probably. Didn't play Yakuza, so I can't say for sure, but
right,
it would make sense.
Yeah, there's a couple of the games have a system where, not all of them, but that you have like a signature dragon style that you learn moves from throughout the game, but then there's also a beast, a brawler, and a rush mode. So rush is like really fast, about like really quick hits. Your brawler is like your all-rounder kind of thing, and then your beast mode is really where you're just supposed to be doing like heavy ham-fisted attacks, and you can pick up like you can pick up the motorcycle and smash it at people and stuff like that when you're in beast mode.
Yeah, in Nioh it was you can learn different skills that can only be used for certain weapons, for instance.
Sure.
In certain stances.
Oh.
So I could pick up a skill that I could use in like the low stance only for this weapon.
Sure.
Or that could be used in the high stance only for the weapons. So you've got a couple different things you can do from that.
Oh.
And then you can swap stances pretty on the fly. For me, I would take the dual I think Wakizashis.
Sure.
Because you're playing a samurai named William.
Fun.
Yeah, it's just white guy samurai. It's all good.
Okay.
But I think I would take the two short swords and do like a lower mid stance for either agility or dodging.
Sure.
Instead of like high attack, but then you could swap to the high attack as well if you wanted to, and do some really offensive stuff. But it would make it so I could kind of evade attacks a bit easier and a bit more fluidly. So that was fun.
Yeah. Certainly.
Even then, the game could be punishing as well.
Yeah, I heard that. It could be. Is it faster than like a Dark Souls? It always seemed like it was a much faster.
For the combat?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because even when you're facing down like the Oni, the demons that you are against, because they're demons, because samurai.
Sure.
Even when you're facing them down, it's still punishing. But not like you can learn the attack patterns and how to do that like you would in any Souls-like game.
Sure.
It's learning the attack patterns and getting used to it and figuring out how to best deal with that.
Sure.
But it wasn't so cantankerously slow that you just felt like you were being punished for being punished.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I mean, again, it feels like there's versions of Dark Souls that work better for me than the actual Dark Souls did.
Yeah.
In similar fashion, one of the ones that I played that I do actually recommend people try if they haven't, which was Jedi Fallen Order, which was the Star Wars, basically, version that surprisingly EA put out, but Respawn...
Wasn't that the newer one?
Yep.
Okay.
That was just a year or so ago.
Okay.
Last couple years. Done by Respawn. They're pretty good. Now they're owned, I guess, by EA. But
Who isn't?
Yeah, who isn't? Yeah, exactly. We welcome our corporate overlords. But Respawn did this. They were kind of famous for Titanfall. But they did this game, and they kind of took the Dark Souls formula, and they said, yes, but Jedi. And that's kind of what they did. What I appreciated about that was that you get the lightsaber combat involved in it. You get the force powers that you can utilize in the field. That works out pretty well. Combat's pretty fluid. It is not easy. There's quite a bit of combat that's a little bit trickier. They do, though, offer like a story mode as well, because they figured that, maybe the combat's not going to appeal to everyone if they don't like it Souls-like. So they created a story mode, and when you play it that way, it actually plays a lot more like Jedi Knight.
Okay.
For the most part, it actually plays that way. And it's like, oh, that's good, because I did enjoy those games. And the other thing that it does really well is that it subdivides the landscape a little bit by going to different planets.
Oh, yeah.
So instead of that one gigantic map that you might be going to in a lot of Souls games that you have to keep backtracking to, they put those into like a little bit more piecemeal places, like little areas in each planet. And so most of those planets are not particularly large in their scope. Sometimes I still did get lost, unfortunately, but it made it a little bit easier when I wanted to go back and like try and get collectibles and stuff like that. I know that I can just go to specifically a planet and go and look for that. So that was helpful as well. And then like you get the Darth Vader moment at the end of it, because of course he's going to show up.
Of course he is.
Anytime they can use him, go for it. So some good character development, in those, and it has, the same great score and everything. You get the Star Warsiness of the whole thing. But the best part, the absolute best part that I loved, that if more Souls-like games could do this, there is no falling damage.
Nice.
If you fall off the edge of the world, it just puts you back up.
Yeah.
You take no damage. Just boop. Because it's Star Wars, of course there's no falling damage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That was the one big thing. I was like, oh wow, I just fall off the world and you're just going to reset me back on the... Cool. Great. I'll take it.
Yeah.
Every
Perfect.
single time. They also included something a little bit similar to like a nemesis system where there's like bounty hunters that are after you.
Yeah.
And you don't want to get killed by them, but...
No,
it would be bad. So, some neat things there. So I've determined that, like, once upon a time, I would have written off a Souls-like game as basically, I don't want to play this ever. And when they would say, like, this is like a Dark Souls, I'd be like, well, this is like a game I'm never playing. But after trying, to kind of like just work my way through those feelings,
yeah.
I've realized that there's value in the formula. There's value in the way the game is structured, just maybe not in the game that originated it.
Right. Yeah, no, I can see that. There's definitely games that will be like, oh, Souls-like. They're like, well, I'll try it.
Mm-hmm.
I may not love it. I might love it more than I like Dark Souls, but I may not finish it.
Exactly.
And that's okay.
Yeah. I think to this day I've only actually finished one that was in the Souls-like genre, and it was Fallen Order. And to be honest with you, I did have to throw it into story mode after very little time in it.
Yeah.
Because it was the combat. The combat is rich and complex and everything, but honestly, I just wanted to feel like a badass Jedi.
Yeah, sometimes you just want to have that power fantasy of having a lightsaber.
Yeah, it's like I started to realize the most unrealistic thing about it was the idea that my Jedi with a lightsaber keeps getting killed by this giant toad. this toad keeps killing the Jedi. This does not make any logical sense. Okay, you know what? We're just gonna have to do this in story mode because this does not feel accurate to the setting at all. We gotta nip this in the bud. I think the one problem though is that when you do go to story mode, it does almost make it too easy because I don't think I really died at all.
Yeah, that's where you get into that discussion about difficulty modes, if they should be a thing or not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I love games that let you have that slider of difficulty where it's like, well, how challenging do you want it? It's like, well, I don't want to die all the time,
Yeah.
but I also don't want to be like, oh, you can't do any challenges because you're a baby.
Right. My default is I want to play the game on the difficulty that the creators said is the default difficulty.
Well, for games like Dark Souls, that is punishing beyond belief.
It is. But like what I've seen more and more as games, as we keep going, is I see a lot of games that will put in something. This is the way the developers intended it to be played. They'll like put that in the difficulty, and it's like then that's what I want to go with to start before I do anything else. Because if you're saying that this is the mode that's supposed to be the ideal experience that you've been trying to craft, I'm going to go with that. This is what you want to bring to the table. This is what you want me to experience. I'm going to go with that to start. Nothing harder, nothing easier. This is the way you want me to experience the game. I'm going to start there. Right. But yeah, with Dark Souls, or with like a Ninja Gaiden, which I did finish.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, but it was not easy. Yeah, there's really only one mode, and the one mode is screw you. Pretty much.